At the stroke of midnight on December 2nd, 2012, when the entire state of Andhra Pradesh is sleeping, Andhra Pradesh State Legislative Assembly has passed the historic SC/ST Subplan Bill, thus heralding a new phase in the lives of SCs and STs. The passing of the Subplan Bill in the Assembly was the result of a series of mass movements launched by the people. The bill was passed at a time when the state was in the midst of a massive separate Telangana state movement. The AP State Legislative Assembly, which never witnessed a detailed debate on any issue in the recent past, had unprecedentedly saw a two-day exhaustive debate and discussion on the subplan issue, which was welcomed by all. The Subplan Act was the result of Legislative Assembly members debating the issue threadbare for 2 days. The spirit and aim behind the Subplan Bill was to ensure providing of funds to the Dalit and Adivasis based on their population figures in the annual state budget. The budget allotted for the Subplan should only be utilized for the welfare of the Dalits and Adivasis and barred the government from diverting the funds to other departments and programs. It was an historic occasion when the Chief Minister himself announced the passing of the Act with the entire Assembly as a witness. This was also the result of a decade-long struggle that rocked the state of Andhra Pradesh.
మొట్టమొదటిసారి చరిత్రాత్మకమైన బిల్లును మనం కులంకుషంగా చర్చ చేసి దీన్ని సూచనలు సలహాలు ఇవ్వాల్సిందిగా మీ అందరినీ కోరుతూ నేను సెలవు తీసుకుంటాను.
I am to announce to the House that the Andhra Pradesh Scheduled Caste Subplan and Tribal Subplan Planning, Allocation and Utilization of Financial Resources Bill 2012 be taken up for consideration.
What actually is the Subplan? How will it change the lives of Dalits and Adivasis for better? What is the historical background of the Subplan? Answers to these basic queries will lead one to understand on how the Subplan can affect a paradigm shift in the social order. In the late 1960s, as a result of several revolutionary movements that had erupted in the country, Adivasi movements in the state demanded legislations that confer land rights to the Adivasis. The awareness and guts that the revolutionary movements instilled among the Dalits and Adivasis made them question the powers that be on their negligence. In the process, they taught a befitting lesson to the governments that neglected their just demands and rights. They even forced the government of the day to rectify the mistakes. After her drubbing at the elections in 1977, Indira Gandhi had reviewed the reasons for her party's debacle. She realized that party in power could ill afford to ignore the development of Adivasis and Dalits. As a result, when she came back to power, she had passed the Regulation 1 Act of 1970 vesting land rights to Adivasis in the tribal areas. She also initiated measures for the implementation of SC/ST Subplan. Former PM Indira Gandhi wanted to allocate exclusive funds for the SCs and STs. She felt that, like the reservations accorded to these sections for education and employment matters, special funds should also be earmarked for the SC and STs to be utilized exclusively for these sections. But such an allocation was in vogue in the local bodies then. The exclusive allocation of funds for the SCs and STs was started in Panchayat Raj institutions in 1960 and in municipalities in 1972. About 6% of funds were allocated in these institutions. It was extended to all the departments in 1975-76. From the sixth five-year plan, the subplan had begun taking a final shape. In 1980, during her meeting with the state chief ministers and governors, Indira Gandhi in her keynote address spoke eloquently about the need for the implementation of subplan. Later, Mrs. Gandhi stated that she had mentioned about the need for the implementation of SC/ST subplan during her meeting with the ministers for backward classes held in 1975. Tribal subplan was introduced in 1974 and special component plan in 1980. Both the plans were introduced by the central government towards the social and economic development of the SC/STs as envisaged by the five-year plans. Under the plans, the state governments were asked to allocate funds for the SCs and STs based on their population figures. Funds allocated under the plan were exclusively meant for the SCs and STs. The plan was renamed as Scheduled Caste Subplan in 2006. As on date, in AP, about 16.20% funds were allocated to the SCs and about 6.60% to the STs in the state's annual budget. The main objective of the sub-plan was to remove social and economic inequalities among the SCs and STs and ensure their due share in the funds. The sub-plan's aim was to utilize the funds for the comprehensive development of SCs and STs in economic, social and educational fields. But the aim was diluted over several decades. Crores of rupees meant for Dalits and Adivasis were diverted for other purposes, sometimes even for ridiculous purposes like beautification of flyovers, cleaning Hussain Sagar Lake and development of parks. The government estimates themselves stated that a whopping rupees 25,000 crore meant for Dalits and Adivasis were diverted in the last one decade. Senior journalist, columnist and founder director of Center for Dalit Studies, Mallepalli Laxmaiah was the first person to react and respond to the SC/ST funds diversion issue. The article Laxmaiah wrote on the funds diversion had sensitized both media and the people on the issue. Well-known journalist and editor K. Ramachandramurthy, who had been relentlessly working for the welfare of Dalits and Adivasis, encouraged Laxmaiah to write an exclusive article in Vartha Daily on the funds diversion issue. The article that appeared in March 2001 had evoked unprecedented response from all the stakeholders. The then leader of the opposition, Dr. Y.S. Rajasekhar Reddy, read out the contents of Laxmaiah's article in the Legislative Assembly and registered his protest against the funds diversion. Based on the funds diversion reports brought to light by Vartha in 2001, the CDS worked relentlessly on the issue. In June 2001, the then President K.R. Narayanan had appointed a governors committee to study the scenario with regard to SCs and STs funds. The committee recommended that nodal agencies should be set up like in Maharashtra state for the implementation of the SC/ST sub-plan funds. Against this backdrop, the CDS demanded setting up of a nodal agency in the state. Along with Sakshi and Dalit Bahujan Front, the CDS conducted an awareness program for the SC/ST activists. The CDS continued its struggle for 3 years. When Dr. Rajasekhar Reddy became the Chief Minister in 2004, CDS had submitted a memorandum to him and reminded him of his speech in the Assembly in 2001 where he opposed the diversifying the SC/ST funds. CDS also enlisted the support of all the political parties. In 2005, CDS compiled the data on the diversion of SC/ST funds and circulated it among the SC/ST legislators. CDS had turned every setback into a stepping stone of success. CDS in 2006 organized an all-party meeting. The CPM responded positively and helped to launch a people's movement. Kula Vivaksha Vyatireka Porata Samiti, a front organization of the CPM based on the data given by the CDS, have launched a movement. Both CPM and the front have chalked out an action plan along with the CDS. This had added further strength to the CDS, which was organizing the movement for 6 long years. In 2007, CPM State Secretary B.V. Raghavlu launched a protest which led to several political party leaders extending their support to the cause. Telangana Rashtra Samiti participated in the debate on the sub-plan in the Assembly. Both TRS and CPM have launched a joint attack in the House against the Treasury benches on the sub-plan issue. Later, a nodal agency was formed in the state for the proper implementation of the SC/ST sub-plan, but it was not clothed with any powers, thereby rendering it as a paper tiger. The sub-plan issue came back to square one. In 2010, Raghavlu along with Veerayya, Babu Rao and Murali Krishna had undertaken another fast on the sub-plan. Another question cropped up. Even if the nodal agency was given powers, what if the implementing officer was not efficient? Around this time, former Supreme Court Judge Justice Ramaswamy, who headed SC/ST working group as chairman, had categorically stated to the Planning Commission that only an act on the sub-plan implementation was the only remedy for the proper implementation of the sub-plan. CDS had in tune with Justice Ramaswamy's observation and hence demanded enactment of a bill in the assembly. CDS prepared the proposed bill on the lines suggested by Justice Ramaswamy. It also held an all-party meeting on April 6, 2011, in which Justice Ramaswamy personally attended the meeting and explained salient features of the proposed act. CDS had created a historical moment by eliciting the views of all the political parties on the issue. BJP floor leader G. Kishan Reddy wrote a letter to the Chief Minister demanding SC/ST Subplan Act. Interestingly, the BJP gave a notice for an adjournment motion demanding legislation on the subplan. The CDS had exerted pressure on all the political parties by mobilizing support from the ruling and the opposition parties on the subplan demand. The CDS had created a situation where there was no option for the political parties but to support the subplan issue. This helped the CDS to enlist support in principle from all the political parties. The CDS also ought to create awareness among the elected representatives. It also addressed several meetings held by the parties. The result was the formation of a joint action committee comprising representatives from the CDS, KVPS and other Dalit and Adivasi organizations. The JAC was held under the chairmanship of former Chief Secretary Kaki Madhava Rao and had senior IAS officers like former Secretary to the Prime Minister K.R. Venugopal. This led to a transformation among the SC/ST officers forum which launched a direct action. The JAC formed for the implementation of the subplan brought all the organizations fighting for the issue under one roof. The JAC did a yeoman's job to take the subplan issue among the people. It had constituted district and mandal committees, thereby laying a firm foundation. A large broad-based campaign was launched from the village level to the state. It declared in no uncertain terms that the only weapon with which SCs and STs would get their due in the nation's wealth was the subplan legislation. The CDS, while taking an important role in the JAC, also scripted an internal stir among the political parties to fall in line on the issue. At the initiative of CDS, the then Deputy Speaker Bhatti Vikramarka and other SC/ST legislators have participated in a special conference on the subplan held under the very precincts of the State Legislative Assembly. This conference had a deep impact on the ruling party. In this conference, CDS Director M. Anjaneyalu, participating as a special invitee, gave a presentation with statistics on the loopholes in the implementation of the subplan. Another key development was the holding roundtable conferences with editors and other senior journalists among media to sensitize the media on the subplan. Based on the awareness created by the CDS, several articles appeared, editorials published, and discussions were held on several media fora. In this regard, the efforts outlined by MD of HMTV and the Hans India, K. Ramachandramurthy, should be appreciated. The debate held for about 3 hours on HMTV have made an everlasting impact on the people and political parties. Later, other channels like Sakshi, TV9 and T News have also held live discussions on the need for having subplan legislation.
మన దేశంలో అనేక ఉద్యమాలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. మన రాష్ట్రంలో ముఖ్యంగా చాలా ఉద్యమాలు చాలా డిమాండ్ల సాధన కోసం జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఏ డిమాండ్ గురించైనా రెండు అభిప్రాయాలు ఉండొచ్చు, కానీ ఈ డిమాండ్ గురించి రెండో అభిప్రాయం ఉండడానికి అవకాశమే లేదు. చట్టంలో, రాజ్యాంగంలో రిజర్వేషన్ ఉండబట్టే మనకి ఉద్యోగాల్లో, అట్లాగే విద్యా సంస్థల్లో, అట్లాగే చట్టసభల్లో కూడా రిజర్వేషన్లు అమలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఈ చట్టబద్ధత లేకపోబట్టే మేజర్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ నిధుల్లో కూడా మీ వాటా 20% ఉంది, 24% ఉంది, చూసుకోమని చెప్తున్నారు తెలియగల వాళ్ళు. ఈ తెలివితేటలకు గండి కొట్టాలంటే దీనికి చట్టం తీసుకోవడం ఒకటే మార్గం.
For 2 years, both the CDS and JSC have stirred up the political parties and bureaucracy. The moment that reached its crescendo had made the people in the state to get into action. During the Legislative Assembly sessions on March 23, 2012, observed 72-hour Diksha and organized Chalo Assembly on March 26th. Thousands of Dalits and Adivasis converged at Andhra Park. Representatives of the CPM, CPI, KVPS, CPIML New Democracy, YSRCP and Dalit Bahujana Front sat on hunger strike.
ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీల అభివృద్ధి కోసం 30 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం ప్రారంభించినటువంటి ఎస్సీ ఉప ప్రణాళిక, ఎస్టీ ఉప ప్రణాళిక అమలుకి ఈ రాష్ట్రం గాని ఈ దేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి అనేక రాష్ట్రాలు గాని నోచుకోకపోవడం దురదృష్టకరం. ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీల ప్రణాళిక బడ్జెట్ లో వారి జనాభా ప్రాతిపదికన బడ్జెట్లు కేటాయిస్తామని చెప్పినటువంటి ప్రభుత్వాలు కేటాయించి వాటిని దారి మళ్లించిన చరిత్ర ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో ఉంది.
In the Legislative Assembly, members from the Communist parties, TRS, BJP, YSRCP have raised the Subplan issue. Leader of the opposition N. Chandrababu Naidu visited the hunger strike camp and pledged his support. The CDS strategy worked and several legislators also participated in the hunger strike.
63 సంవత్సరాల స్వాతంత్రం వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇంకా ఎస్సీలు ఈ విధంగా ఉన్నారంటే దానికి కారణం ప్రభుత్వం యొక్క నిర్లక్ష్యం తప్ప ఇంకోటి కాదు. సబ్ ప్లాన్ ఉంది, రాజ్యాంగ పరంగా మీకు సంక్రమించిన హక్కు, దీన్ని వైలేట్ చేస్తున్నారు. సబ్ ప్లాన్ పేరుతో ఎక్కడెక్కడో డబ్బులు ఖర్చు పెట్టి దొంగ లెక్కలు రాస్తున్నారు. మీరు చేసే ఉద్యమానికి సంపూర్ణ మద్దతు తెలుగుదేశం పార్టీ ఇస్తామని చెప్పి కూడా నేను మీకు తెలియజేసుకుంటున్నాను.
It was a historical moment when former bureaucrats taking lead in the Subplan movement. Several important leaders like the leader of the opposition Chandrababu Naidu, Deputy Chief Minister Damodara Rajanarasimha and a host of others have visited the hunger strike camp and extended their support. But the government did not respond to the 72-hour strike. Enraged by this, the crowd wanted to march in the Legislative Assembly. The police have arrested the rallies, which included legislators, former bureaucrats. The activists have once again went to the hunger strike camp, resumed their agitation, condemning the high-handedness of the police, indifference of the government, and demanding enactment of the Subplan legislation.
చాలా మంది సీనియర్ నాయకులు 70 ఏళ్ళ 80 ఏళ్ళ నాయకులను అరెస్ట్ చేయడం, అధికారులను అరెస్ట్ చేయడం, జర్నలిస్టులను అరెస్ట్ చేయడం ఈ ప్రభుత్వం యొక్క